Esmoch bochgeil nafshi es geulas oilom. Do we sing this Achsidish again? Yeah, does it work like that? Oh, you got to put it on our group. By the way, yesterday, because we put it on the group, it really helped because I think some of the guys clicked it from the group link, and then Facebook sees that people are clicking it from links and then puts it up, and I don't know what. We actually had a lot of people yesterday in our share. All right. Hopefully today we're gonna beat the record from yesterday. You think you could do that? Oh, we have to do that. We have to have a whole marketing campaign in the background. All right. Okay. So as you know, today is Thursday. Thursday is Faher Day, right? Some people get really nervous about being tested, but really it is facing reality. Okay. There's a common issue and how should I say handicap that many people have, especially in the religious world, and it's called a lack of accountability, right? What that means is you could do whatever you want, whenever you want, however you want, and it's all awesome, right? It sounds like a good plan, right? Whatever I do, or whether I do something or whether I don't do something, it's all awesome, it's all good, it's all holy. God loves me, and I'm going to heaven for the rest of eternity because I did what? I'm not sure what I did, but I did it. What did I do? I don't know. What did I accomplish? I don't know. And by the way, in the religious world, you see this a lot more than in the secular world, because in the secular world, there's not a lot to grab onto. Unfortunately, in the secular world, they also fell prey to this human disease of refusing accountability. How are you? Huh? If he's here, usually in the back, the next room over there. Anyways, again, this concept of lack of accountability, which is, again, it technically is if you're truly secular, which means you truly follow your rational beliefs, you would always want to have accountability to something to prove that you're actually being productive and successful, right? Now, what happens if you're like, okay, I could do whatever I want, and I'll consider myself successful? So two things happen. Number one, chances are you're not being successful. Okay, my rule is if you don't know that you're successful, you're not successful. So if you're not sure if you're successful, well, then you're not successful. So, right? That's just the way it is, right? In 99 out of 100 cases, if you have no way to prove that you actually accomplished something, 99 out of 100 cases, you did nothing. Okay, there might be a few real cases where you actually accomplished something. But if you need a sense of accountability in order to ensure that you are successful. So number one, if you fail to have accountability, you are probably failing, period. That's number one. Number two is that if deep inside you know this truth, right? You're like, oh, Rabbi, why are you breaking this truth to me? No, you already know this truth deep inside. And deep inside, if you have no way of knowing you're successful, then you yourself doubt yourself and are therefore less motivated because you're not sure whether you're successful. Huh? How do you not doubt yourself? Again, even if you tell me you're not doubting yourself, but the very fact that you have no way to prove that you've actually succeeded means deep inside, whether you choose to ignore that voice or not, but deep inside you are wondering whether you're accomplishing something. And one of the keys to motivation, okay? I once considered myself a motivational expert, right? It's funny. Yeah. No, it's really an expert. I used to do this when I did spiritual coaching. I used to tell people that I can help them understand how to be motivated, which is true. You have motivational speakers. They'll speak and they'll get you really excited, but then 2 minutes later, you're gone. Done. Finished. Right? For those 2 minutes, you're on fire. Go ahead. Yes, go ahead. Yeah, good. Right? But the truth is that there are certain keys to motivation that I've researched and studied, and they're 100% true. The key to true, long-lasting motivation, the first important ingredient is to know that you're successful, or to have a way to know that you're successful, right? And once you know that you're successful and that you've succeeded, then you're motivated to succeed again. If you're not sure whether you're being successful or not, you're never going to be motivated, because why should I do this? Why should I put an effort and do something that's not easy for me if I'm not sure why exactly I'm doing it and where exactly I'm going to get, right? Now, once you know where your goal is and you actually get there, you're motivated to do the goal again. That is the secret to motivation. Now, obviously, the goals have to be things that you find important, right? And that could be a little bit confusing of what do you find important and what don't you find important? What do you find meaningful? What don't you find meaningful? That could be a whole nother discussion. But the key to being motivated is to have goals that you need to reach and to know that you have reached those goals. If you do not have that ingredient, you will lose motivation at some point, you probably pretty quickly, right? Otherwise, when you have the goal, like that's why you have, the Rebbe would say to make a chalota, make a resolution. You make a resolution. I used to make a resolution to do things indefinitely, right? It did not work. I tell people, there's people that I bring in, they say, I'm going to do chitas for the rest of my life. I'm like, excuse me? Take it back. They're like, what are you talking about? They're like, I made hachlot. I'm going to do chitas for the rest of my life. I'm like, take it back. Take it back. And they're like, why? The very fact that you take on hachlota, which you're not going to know whether you'll be successful with that hachlota till you're dead, chances are you're not going to be motivated to do it, and it's going to fall apart. You know what would be a better hachlota? If a person is not doing chitas yet, to say they're going to do chitas for the next week. And you say, what do you mean, Rabbi? I took on for the rest of my life. He took on for 1 week. I'm much better than him. I'm like, no, you're much worse than him. You know why? Because when he finishes that week, he'll know that he's successfully accomplishes achlata, and then he'll be motivated to take on another achlata and pass that as well. Right? Does it make sense? What's that? Taste what? Success. You have to taste success. You have to. It's true, and that's and by the way, being successful is the key to motivation. You see people that are successful, extremely motivated people. Why? Because they have constant success, right? And even though they don't like failure, but they're not afraid of failure, right? Because they realize that recognizing a failure allows you to appreciate success. Okay? As a matter of fact, you ever wonder why, they have all these children's games, right? Children are very picky. Do you think children like losing a game? You think children like losing a game? Do children like losing a game? No, they don't. So why all these video games, they have ways of losing the game? Why don't they just make the game that you can never lose? Huh? Because if you could never lose, you can never win. And the child will not be motivated. That's why the video games, they make it that you could lose and that you have consequences. And sometimes you win, sometimes you do good, sometimes you do bad. Because if you did not have that contrast between success and failure, the kid would be totally uninterested in it. Now you're asking me, why am I comparing it to a child? Because the video games, if you look at the video games, children are really small adults, right? Adults work just like children, right? We don't become something different when we're adults. We just see a different perspective and operate in maybe a bigger picture, right? And so when you see how we adults try to manipulate children and have them play a video game or have them, get involved in a particular program, we need to look at that and realize that us adults, we operate the same way. Maybe again, we might, the little child likes winning, likes when the video game goes cha-cha-ching, right, or something like that. That's what gets the kid excited, right? You actually want to have money in your account, right? But the fact is, it works the same way. Now, why am I telling you this? Why am I telling this? You tell me why. We're learning Talmudic program, and we're blasting this live to 7 billion people over the internet, right? Not too many of them are watching, but there's a few of those 7 billion are watching. A few. But why am I saying this? I'm saying this because every once in a while we need to reflect on our program here with studying Talmud. Okay, now. When we have a test at the end of the week, when you sit down and read it to me, you'll be like Rabbi, I don't know why I should do this. I don't know what it accomplishes, etc. right? What am I gaining out of it? The answer is you're gaining the fact that you can see what you've accomplished. You come at the end of the week, if you are setting your own barometer for success and failure, then you don't really feel that that's a real barometer, and therefore you yourself are not really motivated by it. When you have an external being such as myself, that you're reading the Gemara and I'm like, wow, you did awesome, you did better than you did last week, right? Or you did horrible, why the heck didn't you put some time into your Gemara this week, right? Either what, no matter what I said, it's actually going to help you. Because if I tell you that you did awesome, you're like, yeah, win, I won, I passed. And if you failed, you're like, okay, well then when I do pass, it's actually worth something, right? And then hopefully you'll try harder the next time. So it's very important to realize that this structure is vital to your own personal development. And it's not just Rabbi Kopel wants to drive you nuts, all right? You think I want to drive you nuts?
Yeah.
Yeah? He thinks I want to drive him nuts. That's it. I took the job as the teacher, the Talmudic class teacher. The only thing I was interested in was I was waiting for this one student called Mendel to arrive at my class and to drive him nuts. That was like my like my dream as a child. Like when I was 14 years old, like you start thinking about. They start asking, well, what do you want to do for a career, right? What do you want to do, right? I was thinking, you know what? I want to come and teach a class and then have this guy called Mendel there, and I'll just drive him nuts. That's it. I'm done. That's it, right? People want to know online, why did I stop giving this year? I'm like, listen, I did my goal. I accomplished my mission. I did what I wanted to do. Now I have to go home. I can do something else. Anyways, obviously that's not true. It's a joke, but that's the reality. All right? Anyways, I'm going to do a very brief of the Gemara, and then I want you guys to read it over on your own until I call you over, and then each person will read it to me as much as they could. All right? Good. I'm not really going to focus on the first part of the Gemara that we had from the Tana Rabbanan regarding the previous discussion. I'm not even going to really be testing on that because it's confusing. That's it. We're going to be really discussing starting from the two dots, which is talking about mincha. Are we talking about mincha ketana? Are we talking about mincha gedola? Right? Now the Gemara is trying to figure out which one we're talking about. Mincha ketana, as we said, is the 6.5 hours, which in our clock turns into 12.5 hours. 12. Mincha gedola is 6.5 hours. That turns into 12.5 in our clock, right? Then we have mincha gedola, mincha ketana, which is 9.5 hours in the Talmudic way of counting, which would be 3:30 in our counting. How many hours? They also had 12 hours. Yeah. The only thing is that in our clock, the time starts at midday and ends at midnight. Right? And then starts again at midnight and ends at midday. However, in the Talmudic way, the day starts at 0 to 1 is the first hour of the day is the first hour of the day. So the day is split into 12 hours, and the night is split into 12 hours. So whether it's Alois HaShachar or Nates is a good question. I'm actually not sure myself. I think it is Alois. I think we count from Alois till Tzeis. Huh?
It's like 12 o'clock in the afternoon, so like midnight basically, like 0:00
No. What we call midnight would be called the 6th hour. Right? Because if what's half of 12? 6. So therefore, what we call midnight in the Talmudic way of counting would be the 6th hour. Midnight literally means the middle of the night, right? It's meant to be in the middle of the night. Midnight's meant to be the middle of the night, even though depending on where you are in the world, it might not be exactly the middle of the night. But the original clock was built that midday is 12 and midnight is 12, right? Which means that the first hour, meaning that the first hour is the hour after midnight and the first hour is the hour after midday, right? In the Talmudic way of counting, we count 12 hours of the day, 12 hours of the night, which means the first hour of the day is in our clock on an average day. An average day will say starts at 6 and ends at 6, right? Now you'll ask, why does it start at 6 and ends at 6? It just start with 0 and end with 12, right? That's the way the Talmudic clock had it.
Wait, so let's do 6 and Chatzos is 12.
Correct. I'm not sure if it's Alois or Nace, but yeah, let's leave it at that. All right, good.
So the clock would also start and end at 6.
What's that?
The day would also start and end at 6.
Who? No, their day would start at 0 and they would end at 12.
Alois is 6. So your day
No, I said Alois in today's clock. The day starts at 6 and it ends at 6 on an average. On an average day, it starts at 6 and ends at 6. In the Talmudic clock, the day starts at 0 and ends at 12.
It's the same thing for us.
Put it this way. 6 o'clock in the morning would be 00 in the Talmudic way of clock.
Alois is the 6th hour.
Chatzos is the 6th hour.
No, it's the midday. It's 12.
Hoy ve, ya.
They call it 6 o'clock.
Again, there is the modern way of the operation. I'm telling you, throw a tissue at you. The modern way of counting is that on an average day starts at 6 and an average day ends at 6. The Talmudic way of counting is that an average day starts at 00 and ends at 12, which means that 00 of the Talmud equals 6 in the morning of the modern clock, and 6 o'clock in the afternoon equals 12 o'clock in the Talmudic way of counting. Does it make sense? Can I know? Good. Huh? No, not in Talmudic. 12 o'clock, Chatzos is 12 o'clock in the modern way of doing it. Correct. Very good. All right. So then we went a little bit further on to trying to understand why would the rabbis prohibit you from eating the afternoon prior to Pesach? Yeah. So we said it could be because we're afraid you are going to neglect to do the Paschal sacrifice. And it could be that you may stuff yourself with so much food that you will not eat matzah in a normal way. We said that if you stuff food down your throat, it's not called eating. And the Torah tells you to eat matzah. And if you fail to eat the matzah in a normal, edible way, then you did not fulfill the mitzvah. So therefore, perhaps the rabbis prohibited you from eating in the afternoon prior to Pesach Eve because they wanted to ensure that you had room in your stomach to digest the matzah so that you can fulfill the mitzvah properly. Does that make sense? Good. Huh? What about the afikomen? You tell me, what about the afikomen? Do you see me mention the afikomen over here? You're asking what? What halacha?
You have to actually enjoy it.
What is the afikomen? The matzah we eat at the end of the meal, right? Which is it's symbolic for the Paschal sacrifice. It's symbolic of it, but it's not, right? It's just a symbol. It's not really the mitzvah of eating matzah. The mitzvah of eating matzah is to eat it in the matzah that you eat in the beginning of the seder, meaning not the beginning, but like when you eat matzah, that is the matzah of the mitzvah. You actually make a blessing on it. You make Baruch Ato Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam Asher Kiddushanu b'mitzvos v'tzivanu al achilas matzah. Right? That's what we say on the matzah, and that is the mitzvah. The biblical mitzvah to eat matzah is done then. The afikomen, it actually does say, by the way, just as a side point, where it's not our Gemara is discussing, but it does mention that the afikomen is meant to be eaten. At least you should have a little bit of room. You shouldn't stuff it down your throat because then once again you might run into this problem. However, it's not really biblical. It's more of a symbolic, and Therefore, it's not the biggest issue in the world.
So 3 cups of wine. No, your 4 cups of wine.
Huh?
You drink your 4th cup.
What are you talking about?
Your 3rd
You know, it's the first year you did the Seder? You did the Seder. How many times did you do the Seder in your life? Huh? Huh?
Did I drink wine?
You didn't drink wine in some of your Seders?
No, I was a kid.
Oh, okay.
What's the better?
Okay. How many times did you do it with wine on the Advocate? How many times? 2 times? That's it, really? The afikomen is the last thing you eat before benching. Benching is the 3rd cup, and the 4th cup is after halal. So you really only drink 2 cups of wine before you eat the afikomen. Yeah. All right? Good. Anyways, we then brought a story with Agrippas to try to prove that we're talking about mincha gedoyla. Sorry, we're talking about mincha ketana and not mincha gedoyla. Yeah. So then we went on to say that there's some opinions that say that even though you're not allowed to eat, this prohibition, again, the prohibition of eating only applies to actual bread and not to any other types of vegetables or meat, etc., only bread. The Rashbam, as we quoted it yesterday, says you're only allowed to eat things that are not part of the 5 grains. Tosfos actually seems to argue with him. Yeah? Yeah? And he even brings a proof that in Ketzad Mevorchin, in a particular other Talmudic passage, it says, Mini Tagima, you're supposed to bless Beide Mini Mizoines, which means you can eat cookies, you can eat crackers, you can eat things like that. Yeah? And he says that obviously Beide Mini Mizoines is only on the 5 grains. What are the 5 grains? Wheat, barley, oat, spelt, and rye. Memorize it. No, well, Tosfos is arguing that you could do mezainis and you cannot do, unlike what Rashbam says that you can't do mezainis. Yeah. However, he brings there is one place in Yuma where it says that Mina Tagima is in fact fruits. So Tosfos kind of argues, but then argues on himself. So first he argues and says, hold on a second, we see clearly in one place. In one place, the Talmud clearly says that Mini Targinima is referring to Beide Mini Mezainis. And in another place, it seems that it's only fruit, and therefore we're not sure exactly which one it is. The Tosfos kind of leaves it a little vague, which means he doesn't conclude one way or the other. Does that make sense? Good. I was wondering why Talmudic Tom wasn't commenting here, and I found out that he just came late. What's that? What defines mezainis for Ramoitzi? Great question. Great question. Yeah. That sounds like a cracked question. Okay, so the fact is that there are a lot of disputes as to what makes something hamoitzi versus mezainis. As a matter of fact, the certain Sfaradim, they will make mezainis on matzah if it's not on Pesach. Because there's an opinion, again, there's an opinion that says, well, the general definition is that if it's considered bread, then it's hamotzi, which means you have to wash your hands, etc. Huh? Huh? Hold on a second. Chill out. Calm down. It's okay. Number 1, if it's considered bread, it's hamotzi. If it's considered something other than bread, which is made out of the 5 grains, wheat, barley, oat, spelt, and rye, right? If it's made out of one of those 5 grains and it's not considered bread, then it is mezainis. Now the question is, how do you determine what's considered bread and what's not considered bread? That's the question. Yeah? What's the answer? Depends. Depends. It actually depends more on a machlokes, a dispute. There are different opinions. There are different opinions as to how do you define that one thing from another. Okay, there are some opinions that if the bread is not made with water but with fruit juice, it automatically makes it mezonos. Yeah? There are some opinions that say that. And that's why today you have these sandwiches and it says mezonos on it. However, I can tell you that a Chabad rabbi, I can even tell you his name, Rabbi Heller, who's the Rosh Kollel in Crown Heights, and I had the privilege of learning with him quite a bit when I was younger, and he used to laugh. He says, how do you say that it's mezonos bread? You say mezonos bread. Huh?
They're mutually exclusive.
It's like saying it's it's like saying it's a lit up room that's dark. We're bringing you into a lit up room that's dark. Huh? Almond milk? Why is that?
No,
Why
that's
is it?
not the same.
Good question. But again, you're not going to say I'm bringing you into a room that's very lit, but it's dark. Doesn't make sense. So he laughs at the fact that you say it's mezonos bread. You're calling it bread, but then you're saying it's mezonos. And so again, I'm not sure if he holds with this opinion strictly, but it would, from what he said, it would sound like he says that if you're calling it bread and you're saying this is mezonos bread, the very fact that they're selling it and saying bread that's mezonos means that you have to make a moitzi. That's his opinion, right? Again, there are other people that argue, etc. Now, again, as I said, certain Sfardim will make mezonos on matzah because they'll say, listen, matzah on Pesach, that is the bread of the week. That is our bread for the week. However, when we eat matzah during the year, we're not really eating it as bread. Like no one eats matzah as bread. Like, yeah, sometimes you'll eat matzah during the year because it's a nice snack, it's a nice cracker, you got you crunchy, munchy, it's very nice. Yeah.
When you do matzah during the year, it's different on like Pesach. Like Pesach, you only do now, then afterwards you're allowed to do square for the year.
First of all, you're allowed to do square even on Pesach if it has the proper kosher symbol. We are machmir that we usually use the round ones because they're handmade. I'm not going to get into that. We spoke about this a little bit yesterday, right? But the point is that if you're going to eat any matzah during the year, you're usually not going to eat it as like this is your meal. You're not going to invite people to your house and give out matzah. No, you might have a little bit of matzah to munch on because it's a little bit of a snack. So certain people, and I wouldn't say all Sfardim, but certain Sfardim, they'll make a mezonos, a matzah during the year because they'll say, listen, this is not bread, right?
Also, certain Sfardim eat like laffa. Laffa on Pesach?
So it's not laf, it's a little similar to a lafa. And I would even say, by the way, once we're on the topic,
That's what they
the original matzah was not hard like our crackers. The original matzah was actually a little bit like what they would call today a Dorito or a lafa, right? That's actually the way it was in the time of the temple. And I'm not saying this because I am, there are certain times where the Ashkenazim have a different custom than the Sfardim, and sometimes the Sfardim say we're the right way and you're the wrong way. It's not necessarily true. No, the Sfardim don't have a monopoly over true Judaism, God forbid, right? It could be that they did something wrong, we did it right. How do you know? However, it is recorded clearly that the reason why we have hard matzah today is because it used to be soft. It used to be like a lafa or like a Dorito. However, the rabbis noticed that because the Sfardim are the Ashkenazi world, they were so, how should I say it? They're real softies, the Ashkenazi world. They're very softy, right? So there was this competition of who could make the softer matzah. Now what happened is the rabbis realized that some of the people were making it so soft it wasn't properly cooked. And if it wasn't properly cooked, then it leavened. And then it became chametz. And therefore the rabbis basically said from now on, we're only going to have hard matzah. Therefore, once it gets hard, then it's obviously cooked. Right? Meaning if you cook it until it's hard, it's definitely cooked. If you cook it and it's not hard, then it could be that it won't, it could be if you cook it and it's soft, it might not be completely cooked. And it could be chametz. Therefore, the rabbis made it that we do hard. But some places like the Yemenite world and certain Sephardic groups as well, not all, but certain Sephardic groups, they maintain a tradition that still does soft matzah, and it's very interesting. Yeah, I always say, by the way, if you think about it, the Pesach sacrifice essentially was a shawama. Yeah, think about it. I'll tell you. You have lamb. You have lamb that's cooked on an open fire, right? You slice it off, right? Slice the lamb off the open fire. You would put it into the matzah. You would put a little bit of maror, horseradish, a little bit of harif. You put some lettuce over there, and you wrap it. As a matter of fact, if you know, one of the parts of Seder is called korech, right? Korech. So people say, oh, you make a sandwich. The word korech doesn't really mean sandwich. What is the word korech? Actually comes from the terminology of wrapping. It's wrapping. Korech is wrapping. The proper definition of korech is not sandwiching, but wrapping. Wrapping the matzah in the thing. So yes, for those of you who want to know, the Paschal sacrifice was definitely eating the Paschal sacrifice would look very similar to what a shawama looks like today. And perhaps, by the way, that could be why it's so popular in Israel, shawama, because it something subconsciously in our minds are waking it up, and it's reminding us of this party we used to have 2,000 years ago. Like so shawama, so everybody's like, I gotta have a shawama.
That's like Pesach burritos.
Pesach burritos. Yeah. So when Mashiach comes, hopefully we'll figure it out how to make a proper matzah that's nice and soft, yet properly cooked and kosher according to all the opinions. And then maybe we'll start re-wrapping the matzah in our lafas / matzah lafas.
What's the reason for the products? If we make it hard, that's for sure.
Huh?
What's the reason not about us making products?
Because it's still like maybe inside is not so cool. Yeah. Anyways, that's where we're going to end for today. I'm going to give everybody about 15 minutes to review, and in about 15 minutes, I will be starting to test people. I'll call people over and have you read. You don't have to be so scared. This is the most important action of your life that allows you to feel accountable to your advancement of study of the Talmud. All right? Anybody out there who did not yet join our group, our Facebook group, I just put on front here, you have a QR code that if you click the QR code, you can join our WhatsApp group, and then we can keep you updated about the class. Did we put it on today? We did put it on today. We're even on today with the put the QR code over there. Bezrat Hashem. See you later. Sei gesund. Bye bye.